Cupid is hands down one of my favorite hunters in Smite 1. He felt great, his Heart Bomb auto reset felt consistently good to use, his ultimate was always a blast, and his autos felt like they chunked. But despite all of that, I think Cupid got one of the best glow-ups going from Smite 1 to 2. He received an entirely brand new model, but on top of that, he got some major quality of life changes that makes his kit feel absurdly good. However, I've been noticing far too many Cupid players just doing many things wrong, so I'm hoping this guide will change that for the few of you who stick around to see his many techs. Let's get started. Cupid's passive is Love Struck. If he hits a basic attack, he gets a heart. If he hits an enemy god, he gets 2 hearts. Cupid can hold a max of 16 hearts, and when you cast your first, second, and ultimate abilities, it consumes 8 of these hearts to increase the damage and healing of the ability by 16%, as well as giving them additional effects. This does not consume, so if you fire an ability at 5 hearts, it doesn't consume 5 hearts and increase it by 10%, it can only consume 8 hearts. This passive isn't all that hard to keep track of, but you should try and pay attention on what abilities you're using your passive on, because you're able to pump out a lot of crowd control if you do. Cupid's first ability is Heart Bomb, and it's not changed from Smite 1. Cupid fires an arrow, dealing a burst of damage to the first enemy hit and slowing them. After 3 seconds, or if the target dies, the enemy's heart explodes, dealing the same amount of damage again to all enemies in a circle with the target. If you used 8 hearts, it stuns the enemy. Stunning an enemy with Heart Bomb late game easily guarantees 2 basic attacks on top of the double Heart Bomb damage, so that you can add up to at least 1,000 damage with that combo. Not counting the auto attacks you're likely pelting the target with while they're slowed, however. This is also Cupid's main wave clear ability, and I see a lot of Cupid players use it wrong. Cupid is known for his bad clear, and while that's extremely true, it's not as bad as everyone tends to make it out to be. Cupid needs to stack and prepare the wave for his Heart Bomb, and here's a consistent setup for it. If you're able to get the wave before they meet and start auto-attacking the front minions, it will stagger them, slowing them down and grouping them into a smaller circle. If you use Heart Bomb on a low health minion, it'll instantly explode, dealing the damage to all enemies at once. Being able to one-shot the minion wave this way really helps with your lane pressure. Additionally, you could Heart Bomb a minion and auto it so it stays staggered in the middle of the lane. That can get a little messy sometimes with body blocking. Regardless, just try to make sure you're using Heart Bomb for wave clear in the early game and consciously trying to hit all 6 minions with it instead of just the front 3. Cupid's second ability is where he's received the most changes going into Smite 2. Cupid lobs an explosive bomb at a location that deals damage after a second, and when it explodes, it spawns 3 hearts around the detonation location, healing yourself or an ally for their health and mana if they're picked up. If you're Love Struck, the hearts also grant a sizable strength and intelligence buff. If any ally picks up the heart, you heal for 60% of the value as well. There's a few nuances to this ability that are especially different in Smite 2 than compared to a Smite 1 counterpart. This ability keeps you locked in a channel for basically a full second, so it often never is the optimal play to use it for damage, unless you're catching up to the enemy and want to cast it just before a stun or some sort of CC. Also, you often want to use this ability to primarily heal your support, especially if they're trading their health super aggressively. However, if you use Share the Love on an ally, it doesn't restore enough mana to refill your mana bar, which Cupid can have some difficulty with early game. But if you cast on yourself, you actually gain more mana than the ability costs to cast, so Cupid can sustain both his mana and his health in the laning phase, as well as his supports. Finally, Cupid and his allies can now really easily instantly pick up all 3 of his hearts without having to stack it up against a wall. If you or an ally god standing in the center of his 2, all 3 hearts will be injected directly into whatever god is there. This is great for running away or chasing because you can plant your bomb in front of you so that when you walk into it, you heal for the entire thing, and sometimes get a large damage steroid. This is often what I see new Cupid players doing wrong. You're wasting so much time running around and collecting the hearts. You can spam this ability as much as you want with no downside, so there's really no point to not be at full health and mana on Cupid pretty much 24/7. Flutter is Cupid's third ability, and it's short, sweet, and barely changed going into Smite 2. Cupid dashes, leaving a trail that increases all allies' attack and movement speed. I call it a carpet. Cupid no longer gains passive attack speed from this ability, but now the attack speed is gained when you use it, but also when you're standing on the carpet. This incentivizes fighting on the carpet even more, wanting you to juke back and forth and maximize your attack speed bonus. While this isn't totally realistic in every fight, it does help when the squad groups up to do Gold Fury or Fire Giant, laying down your carpet to give your teammates an extra little bit of attack speed and help speed up that kill time a little bit more. Finally, Cupid's ultimate is Fields of Love, and if you're coming from Smite 1, you're going to recognize this one. Shocker. Cupid fires arrows in a massive area, slowing and crippling all enemies inside. Crippling people means that they can't use movement abilities like dashes inside of your ultimate, so it's a great way to lock people down when you don't want them gone. The arrows grow for 2 seconds before exploding, dealing a massive amount of burst damage and mesmerizing all enemies inside while healing all allies inside. However, if you used 8 hearts from your passive, the enemies are stunned instead of mesmerized, which is one of the big changes going into Smite 2. Having a massive AoE slow cripple into a stun is obviously extremely powerful. The difference between a Mesmerize and a Stun is that a Mesmerize specifically no longer crowd controls an enemy once they've taken damage. If you hit an enemy who's mesmerized, they wake up and don't suffer the full crowd control duration. Ultimately, Cupid is pretty easy to understand kit-wise, but like most Smite gods, knowing the abilities is really only a third of the battle. You need to make sure you know a god inside and out before you've said you've truly mastered them. Hit your abilities, your combos, your crowd control consistently and efficiently, and don't give your opponent any time to think. But be careful. Cupid is at his weakest in the early game, but if Cupid comes out of laning phase even remotely ahead, you're going to have a really good game. Here's an example build for Cupid. It's pretty typical for an ADC build, but the best Cupid build hands down right now is full attack speed. There's an intelligence build floating around, but Cupid's in-scalings are nowhere near good enough to make that remotely viable in my opinion. Max your 1 first, your 2 second, and your 3 last. Put a point into your ult whenever you can. Thanks for watching, have a great day, like, comment, and subscribe if this was any help at all, and have a wonderful holiday season.
I'm behind the Thor. I got him.
Oh, that was a sick silence.